So the bird that you are hearing is a drozd, which I don't know what it's called in English. In Russian, it's drozd. I kind of got, not like a bird watcher, but I kind of got into the bird. There's like no animals in this city for the most part. Like squirrels. People lose their mind over squirrels, but I don't know, like squirrel's a squirrel. But birds, over the last few years, I started to pay a little bit more attention to, especially since we live in a part of the city where it's a little bit greener. And yeah, I've gotten decent at identifying like the 7 most common types here. So not a huge win, but it's something. Okay, so yeah, there are modern housing units in this area too. I don't remember. I think this is Tribeca, or Tribeca might be the one to the left. Like that building over there is a business thing. This is all, well, above the first floor, basically. That's all, what do you call it? Residential. And then on the first floor there, you can see just like a bunch of stuff that you would expect. Man, it's, you know, it's wild. It's like the people who freak out over 15-minute cities. Like this is basically what we're talking about, right? Like you can easily get to your work over there. You can live here, and you can buy everything that you need there. And I still see people paranoid about 15-minute cities. My favorite take, though, are the people who think that 15-minute cities in North America would somehow look different from like this right here, that it would be, you're going to be locked into your 15-minute city and you won't be able to leave it. I don't know. Some people are just brain broken. But we're back on Nizhnya Krasnoselskaya ulica. That's the one that we actually started out on, or the one that I pointed to at the very beginning. And yeah, I'm gonna flip it back around. This, yeah, it is Tribeca. Something didn't smell too fantastic back there, but when I made that video here, and I did actually go down that way. And I tried to film. There are some interesting statues in the what do you call it? In the courtyards in that area. But again, if you're interested in that, you can just kind of check it out in that old video. There's really not too much to show because you can't go into the courtyards and film anything. What I want to do is go up this way a little bit and hook a left. So now I do realize, just myself from walking around, this is probably not going to be as interesting as the former videos. There's a little bit less to show and comment on, but we do have some nice old brick buildings, so we'll kind of hit that up. And I don't remember if I said this in the video when I actually made it here, but this building, before they completely transformed it, this was one of the computer factories in the late Soviet Union, if my memory serves me correctly. And I'm pretty sure. Computing in the Soviet Union was one of the things that they kind of lost out on because they didn't think that it was something that they should really worry about or invest in. And turns out that was incorrect. So yeah, I mean, like, honestly, it's a nice looking building. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the more recent architecture or buildings in the city, but there's enough variety in the facade here that it does make it not look like just a, I don't know, typical Sobyanin structure that all kind of look the same. But all right, moving on. We got survey work going on, and I think these buildings are toast. I don't think they are long for this world, so at some point in time. But I would bet that they're gonna come down. I mean, like, that one is completely hollow on the inside, so. All right, I gotta remember where the actual entrance to this place is. I might have just passed it. Give me a second here. So you can look at me. You can look at me looking at my phone. Just fun. Live vicariously, kind of, sort of. No, it's the next one. Okay. So I didn't overshoot it, but anyway, as I was saying, I don't think there's like a lot of this general area. Like it's interesting for me. I like being here. I hope that it's interesting for you all too, just because you're probably never going to be here yourself. So got some interesting buildings up there, but yeah, this is it. So. Okay. So this is Aviator, as you might be able to tell from the art. So I mentioned that there were old factories in this area, and this is well, you can see it's like a bunch of small businesses now. And during the Soviet Union, this would have been an aviation factory where they would have made parts for various aircraft and things of that nature. And they have, I don't know what the clock thing is all about. We got the flying cat. Obviously, the artwork is, I don't know what that's all about either. The artwork's kind of done to, I guess, honor the past or the historical angle of this territory. But I like it, right? Like it's still an artsy little cluster. You get these weird little things. In fact, if you walk around the city long enough, you'll start to notice these sort of clay figures that people will just slap up in different parts. It's really random. A lot of times when we're walking around, we will see them. But the other reason I'm coming back here is, if you watch this channel, you should know I do those music streams once a week. And with the music streams, I always like to talk about what's going on the Russian music scene. And if I am, it's not. This right here is one of those types of places that I absolutely loved frequenting in the States, and that just don't exist very much here in Moscow. But Punk Fiction. This is a bar slash concert hall where it's pretty simple, pretty skeezy on the first floor, but the second floor up there is actually a skate bowl, and they have concerts up there, and like it's just, I don't know, it's like kind of, it's got like a really good, like kind of high energy vibe. The skate bowl makes things a little bit awkward when you got a lot of people in there moving around, because you know you get the slope in there. But a few years back, I actually went to a concert there for Around the World in 80 Days and Lesnik, both of whom are very good, sort of post-rock, post-metal type groups, post-rock moreover, but like the heavier end of it. So yeah, it's really cool. I imagine that during the wintertime too, if you want to, you can go skateboard up there, but it's one of those things where I don't think I would actually come all the way out here skateboard. Although long ago, probably like 15 years ago, about 2 metro stations down from the general area where we're at now, I did actually used to go out and skateboard there in like a really jank makeshift place. But that was it. That was all I wanted to share, just so you could see a little bit of like what, when they don't tear down the old buildings, what they can actually do with it, which is pretty similar to what you would expect from a lot of places. I feel like reusing the old industrial spaces and using them for small businesses is quite popular. These buildings obviously aren't really well built or intended for living, so you're not going to turn them into lofts. So that's it. We're not actually going to go down further that way, just because there's really not too much down there, and that's actually a part of the city that I'm saving for metro station Komsomolskaya. And metro station Komsomolskaya is a dual metro station. There are two lines that cross through there, the red line and the ring line, the brown line. So, okay, now I have to kind of decide what I'm gonna do, because we're gonna go up the road that way a little bit further, but there's only one place to cross. And like I kind of want to film from this side of the street, but then I'm gonna have to cross over. Okay, whatever. We'll figure it out. Yeah, I guess I'll just stay here and wait for the light to change. What do we got? 92 gasoline, 64 rubles 49 kopeyki. 95 plus 74.99, and diesel 77.99. That's per liter, so that has gone up, but a little bit. Ah, yes, the joys. Okay, finally. Whew. Ah, tricky. They just they crossed the street where there was that traffic jam. That actually was really pretty good. Okay. All right, we see the babushka up there just sort of jaywalking, which means that is a pretty... Ah, there's a trolley stop. So if there's a... Okay. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Before that, I need to talk about this building right here. Okay. So this is the... Wait, that's not the right one. Let me get my... All right, I'm gonna probably butcher the family name here. And I am gonna cross the street to get a close-up in a second, but I should probably a little bit like that. This is the tenant house, the dochodny dom of... Yeah, cool. The dochodny dom of Buryoninnik. Buryoninnik. Buryoninnik? I don't know. It's a very awkward name. Buryoninnik. Alright, I can stumble over it all day. Buryoninnik, or the Buryonin tenant house. Jeez Louise, why are we all having to be so loud? I mean, I have a microphone right under my mouth, so I don't know what I'm complaining about. Anyway, this was built, again, pre-revolution, 1915, not very much prior to the revolution, but modern, got some neo-classical elements. You can kind of see that with some of the castle-like maybe design, and then some romantic Gothic elements, or I guess the romantic Gothic would be more of the castle elements, which we'll get a better view of here in a second. This was actually residential all the way through the Soviet Union, so it was built to be residential, it was built to be an apartment building for people to earn rent on, like wealthy merchants. But the reason that this is kind of interesting is actually one of the things I found out just a few days ago when I was reading about this a little bit more, and it was one of those pieces of information. It kind of feels like it should probably get the focus more than anything else, but this was one of the early works of Vyacheslav Konstantinovich Altarzhevsky, who was an architect repressed under Stalin in the 1930s, but was then rehabilitated in the 1940s, 1943 specifically. He actually planned buildings in New Jersey and in New York in the United States, because in the late 1920s he was living and working there. He actually studied at New York University. That's part of the reason, I think, probably why they maybe came after him. But anyway, the reason Altarzhevsky is kind of a big deal is you might know some of his other buildings. Those would be Kievsky train station, Kievsky Vokzal, Hotel Ukraina, Gostinцы Ukraina, which is near Kievsky Vokzal, and then also he did the general plan of a lot of the pavilions and the park in general at Wastelands, which is the big, it's like the big fairground where there's lots of pavilions on the north side of the city. A lot of people remember it for having like this really big fountain with all of the golden ladies around it that were supposed to represent the various republics. So this is one of his earlier works. Not one of his earliest works, but he didn't do many private houses. So this is kind of a, this is kind of a special one. But I'm gonna go ahead and cross over. So we're gonna do a jump cut. Okay, we're across now. I actually want to flip it back around too so you can see that building on the other way. The thing I wanted to say before is if a trolley stops, even if there's no crosswalk right there, you can technically cross the road because the cars are supposed to stop. That's one of those things that they're supposed to do. So, fun fact, I guess. But yeah, just wanted to get a better look at that coat of arms that they've got up there. Why it's there, I don't know, just a decorative element, but very cool. Got a very nice angle right there with that too as well, so. Okay. That's a really unusual building, I'm not gonna lie. It's like kind of modern, but also not at all. Okay, we got a church over here. It's a church, and there's some history to it. I have some history of it in my notes, but honestly, it's kind of a classic. When I talked about the churches in the first set of videos of how they got partially destroyed or shut down or reused during the Soviet Union, it's the same story here. Nothing different, but. We're gonna go up a little bit further so that hopefully you'll be able to orient a little bit better. Okay, so the reason I'm walking up here to immediately turn around is that at the end, well, almost at the end before I went and ate, but basically right at the end of that last video I made during the walk around, I ended over some train tracks, and that's where we are right now. So if you look over that way, you might see some of those taller buildings, or like those ones that are being constructed over there from the area where they're all the constructivist buildings. And if you were to go straight up that road, that's where metro station Krasnoselskaya is, and that's where we started, and that's where a lot of the stuff I showed last time, or in the last set of videos, was all kind of connected. So get a little train action here. From one to the other. So that's it. So now you kind of have an idea of where we are, right? All of the stuff last time is over on that side, so we're on the other side right now. But it makes sense if you think about it, because I had said that it was going to be a 1 kilometer radius from the metro station. The metro station is just like right up there. It's like 100 meters up that way. So all of the stuff that we've been looking at is within that radius. There's no cheating, there's no flubbing around here. We also got Dom Zachodny, this one right here. Just kind of here in 1903 was formed by Bauman an underground typography, so an underground printing area here. Obviously 1903, 1904, we're talking Soviet revolutionaries. Don't know if it's really noteworthy for that, but it's a nice old building, and it's honestly in really good condition. My guess is, though, that people still live here. I'm not entirely sure. So, we'll keep on. I am going to be completely honest. I was tempted when I saw this. Nastoykin. It looks like a regular bar. Nastoyki are steeped vodka, basically, and there are some really good nastoyka. Nastoyka is one of these drinks too that is a kind of a traditional drink. It's just steeped vodka. It's vodka steeped with horseradish or with pepper or with honey or with a lot of different things. And it's really good. Lots of fruits, lots of berries, things of that nature. So we're cutting grass with a weed whacker, very classic. But the thing with nastoyki is that, like, when I first moved here, you could find them. I mean, people drank them, but they weren't really popular. Just like not at all. I got something on the screen over there. And sometime in the last 5 or 7 years, I feel like they've kind of become fashionable. Yeah, like take a look at this weird building. Very unusual. I wonder what year. I'll take a look when I get back home and find out what year this building is from, but very unusual. Anyway, so yeah, the steeped vodka, the flavored vodkas, if you will, they started becoming more popular, and yeah, now there's a lot of bars, or I guess that they do, their whole thing is based on nastoyki, and I don't know, listen, hrenavucha. Those of you who have never had it, hrenavucha is. Or maybe infusions. Infusion's a better way of saying, not steeped, infusions. Hrenavucha is horseradish infused vodka, and it is, man, it's so good. But it's like one of those things that you don't want to drink when it's like mid 80s to 90 degrees outside. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not. It's gonna hit a little bit differently when it's winter time and it's really damn cold outside. And you get yourself some black bread with a little bit of some herring or something, and you get yourself some hrenavucha, then all is good. But I don't know what this is. I'm assuming it's an old factory. That's probably not like a crazy guess to make, but I do like the fact that they they managed to integrate like the additional space on the upper floors while maintaining the lower levels as it is. It's an unusual look, but it's also not horrible. Yeah, that is. Yeah, like you can tell, like this building opposite doesn't exactly mirror it, but it's pretty close. All right, if I'm not mistaken, somebody can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, the trees that look like they are completely dead, those are topol. Those are the cottonwood style trees, and they're probably not dead. They probably just have been trimmed. This is one of those things that they do pretty regularly, like once every few years with the topol, so that they don't put out all of the all of the cottonwood stuff that flows around everywhere. They will cut all of the limbs off because they are tenacious little organisms, and then for a few years they won't produce any of the cottonwood stuff. But I wonder what's going on here. Loft Cafe, SM Lab Days. Okay, so we got some sort of thing going on here, but this is honestly like a surprisingly more dynamic area than I expected it to be. Looks like we've got a brewery up here too. Pivzavod 77. Pivzavod 77, which never heard of it, but Well, I guess now I know where I need to go if I want to. There really aren't many breweries in, well, honestly, in Russia in general. But like, when I say brewers, I mean like small breweries. But especially in Moscow, just because of the, like, in the States and cities, you can have those like restaurant breweries because of, I don't know how the legislation works there. But here, for a very, very long time, you couldn't open a brewery. It was very, very difficult. There were like a lot of national or like federal level laws you had to deal with. And only, I want to say like only in the last 10 years or so, but probably even less than that, they started to make changes to the legislation, or to the rules at least. And a few of them have started to appear, but it's still not very common. And yeah, like that one being back there is kind of different. Okay, so now we can enjoy some of the like heavy Soviet era industrial views that I think a lot of people would typically associate with Russia, right? Like this kind of under the bridge. Now we are near the railway, and that obviously is going to be part of it. These are just like old use places, so. But I want to go over here and see if we can't have a look. All right, it's dripping. The next time people say there's no trash in the city, just, yeah, there is. You just gotta go to the right place. So I'm probably gonna have to go like near, I'm probably gonna have to go up there to get a better view, but this is a very old industrial area, but it's not gonna be like this for very long. Let me actually go over this way, but I guess you get the street level view. The thing is, with Moscow, any large territory like that, even though we're technically outside of the center, even though we're technically outside of TTK, the third ring road is actually this thing that we're going to go up to in a second. But you cannot have a massive space like that sit empty for a long time. It just will not do. All right. Now we're gonna have to climb some stairs. Once we get up there, you'll be able to see like just how large this territory is. And I'm probably not gonna go up all the way, just because, again, the third ring road is right there, and the third ring road is pretty loud. Cars, it's a highway. Again, we can kind of like take a look from here too, right? Like they've already begun excavation work. It's a pretty sizable territory, but all right. So, yeah, again, you can see those new, taller buildings, the kind of grayish ones, I guess. They're all gray, but the ones that are closest to us, those were the new ones that were being built in that constructives area. Okay, so now, oh man, I smeared up my shoes. Now we can actually see the size of that territory. You can kind of see where the railroad tracks are a little bit, but yeah, this is massive. This whole field was in the past known as Moskva Krasnoselskaya. And this is going to be turned into a massive block of, and I'll put up an image on the screen, a massive block of residential real estate with 2.4 thousand apartments with 165,000 square meters, which is 1.75 million square feet. And there's also going to be an additional 100,000 square meters of office space, which is 1.1 million square feet of office space. So this is going to be turned into just like a massive complex. But you can see that they've got construction going on even on the far side of it over here too, which I don't even fully understand where that is, to be completely honest with you. Now, the pictures that you saw with regards to what they're going to be building over here, those renders aren't fully confirmed. They haven't been like confirmed by the city. Those are just like the first test ones that they are putting out to see what the response is going to be. The thing that's interesting is that, you know, the amount of real estate that they're building with this is kind of insane. And anytime like massive projects like this get going or get approved, I always wonder how long they're going to just sit there basically half empty. We had a situation just this last week where Russian Railways, they bought a skyscraper in Moscow City. Moscow City being like one of the biggest, more elite places for business real estate. And they bought this like massive skyscraper a few years back. And then they were like, oh, well, we don't have any money. So they tried to sell it. And now nobody wants to buy it because there's just no demand for it. So when you hear things like we're going to build 100,000 square meters or 1.1 million square feet of business space over here, and the same with the residential space, when the real estate market is kind of in a slowdown right now, it does make you wonder, like, who is this going to be for? Now, like, I'll be honest, you saw it yourselves. I didn't really see a lot of activity over there. So maybe it's not like, maybe it's not going ahead all that quickly. We do have, you know, the group that's responsible for it, but I think on the whole, it feels pretty quiet in there, so. And I'm gonna cut it off right there. Now, this time around, I'm not going to drag the video out for a very long time, but I do wanna say that I have edited 6 of these walk-around videos so far, and personally, this last one, the one that you just finished watching, felt kind of like the slowest to me out of all of them. So I want to ask you a question directly, which is that, are you enjoying these kind of really full length, full experience walk-arounds, even if there are some slightly slower sections, because it gives you an opportunity to see the whole thing from start to finish? And, you know, do I do a good job of filling in with additional information when necessary? Or do you think that there are parts of, for example, this video that I could have cut out, that I could have streamlined it a little bit more and made it a quicker, a punchier experience? The reason I ask is just because the next video, which is set to come out, will be the final one in the Krasnoselskaya metro station area, which means that I'm already gearing up to go out and film another one. And with the very real possibility that the next one or some future station almost certainly will be in an area with less history and you know, a little further from the center, for example, where it's more of a residential neighborhood, it's good for me to get a little bit of feedback. And I do want to hear from you, the people who are actually watching this, what parts of this are clicking more, and just in general, you know, like, how do you enjoy these things? I'm having a good time making them. I can always jabber on and chat about the things that I see and just do that stream of consciousness with the aspects of daily life here in Russia as I'm walking around, or even sometimes personal memories. You know, again, that's how stream of consciousness tends to work. But the question is, you know, is that something that is good and fun and interesting to watch, or would you prefer when there are these parts of the city that have maybe a little less history or just are a little bit more dull, I suppose, to some people. Would it be better if I cut some of that stuff out? So let me know in the comments down below. As always, just leave any other comments down below, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. And I'll be back in the very near future with the final video from the Krasnoselskaya metro station. But until then, this has been Russia in Context. Thanks for watching.